President Donald Trump has once again been caught using anti-Semitic tropes after referring to some Jewish voters in the real estate business, these are Jewish Republicans, as both brutal and saying that that their votes that they have to vote for Donald Trump in order to protect their money. Let's take a look.
A lot of you are in the real estate business because I know you very well. You're brutal killers, not nice people at all, but you have to vote for them. You have no choice. You're not going to vote for Pocahontas, I can tell you that. You're not going to vote for the wealth tax. Yeah, let's take 100% of your wealth away. No. Even if you don't like me, some of you don't. Some of you I don't like at all, actually. And you're going to be my biggest supporters because you'll be out of business in about 15 minutes if they get it.
Wow. Okay, so look, he can't help himself. Can't help himself. So let's kind of break down all the horrible things that he said in that. For one, starts out with a slur against Elizabeth Warren. Oh, Pocahontas. She's going to take 100% of your wealth. No, she's not. That wealth tax is actually incredibly modest. No, look, lying 100% about that. Now, there's also, of course, your brutal killers, right? Well, I don't know if I'm really I'll explain my stance on that, how I don't really care too much about that part. But he says, some of you, even if you don't like me, some of you don't, some of you I don't like at all, but you're going to be my biggest supporters because the Democrats are going to take all your money, essentially, right? You'll be broke in 50, out of business. Not true. Actually, businesses tend to do better under Democratic presidents. You know why? Because we're rational and we don't just give all the money to the corporations in giant tax cuts. Insane, right? But okay. So now let's get into what I didn't really care so much about. Brutal killers, right? Oh, you're brutal killers. You're not nice people at all. Okay, whatever. You're like not a smart person. Look, here's the thing. He might have been, weirdly enough, trying to give them a compliment. Brutal killers, right? Like, oh man, you're so brutal. Like saying like it's a good thing, right? Like kind of a term of endearment to their business prowess, right? Or something. I mean, look, that could explain the cheering and the laughs from the crowd when he said that. Like, yeah, Donald Trump thinks I'm a brutal killer. Yeah, I'm killing it in the real estate business, the foreclosing homes. But like again, the entire thing is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes. The rich Jewish guys, right? Oh, they're so brutal. They're hoarding their money. And so, of course, they'll never vote for Pocahontas or Elizabeth Warren because she wants to take their money. And I think that's actually a lot of projection on the part of Donald Trump, by the way, because I think he is afraid that people are going to take his money. And that's literally the worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump is that someone takes some of his money. I know, right? But the trope here, of course, is greedy Jews, as usual, right? And he's literally trying to play off that trope in order to get them to vote for him. Like, hey, man, like, I know you guys are greedy Jews that love to hoard the money, so why don't you vote for me? Because I'm going to let you do it. What? That is incredibly messed up. It's really, really weird. So now, later on in that same speech, he also talks about how some Jews do not love Israel enough. Now, that's, again, a very ironic statement because I don't think Donald Trump believes or cares at all about Israel. And not only that, but I think Trump is, look, I've said Trump's not a very smart person, and I stand by it. But there are certain things that he understands. He actually understands his voters. He understands his base. And so he understands evangelicals make up a very, very large portion of his support, right? And so, look, hey, all he has to come out and do is say, look, oh, I love Israel. I love Israel a lot. In fact, I'm going to make Jerusalem the capital. I'm going to refer to Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and move our embassy there, right? And so he did that already. He moved that embassy over to Jerusalem, which of course angered a lot of Muslims in the Middle East. And so the reason he did that is to, of course, appeal to the evangelicals. And evangelicals don't actually care about Israel at all because, or at least they don't care about the Jewish people. They do care a lot about Israel because it kind of goes into their weird end of days, end times fantasy, which involves the return of Jesus Christ. And most of the people in the world are killed, except a very, very small amount of people. Basically, all the Jews are destroyed, except for a very small amount of them. It was somewhere around like 144,000 or whatever that convert to Christianity. So effectively, the end of all the Jews. So it's very strange. It's very dangerous stuff. Okay. So now that, of course, gets into a lot of the other positions that are very strange and dangerous. I mean, why care about climate change if Jesus come back? If the end of the world is coming here? Why care about Palestinian rights? Not that the right wing ever would care about Palestinian rights because, of course, they're brown people. If Jesus comes back, the big irony about that is Jesus is brown. Oops. But anyway, look, Donald Trump, after this, received some pushback from Jewish Americans. Haley Seufer, the executive director of the Jewish Democratic Council of America, said Trump's comments were, quote, vile and bigoted. Trump's, quote, deeply offensive remarks, including his unconscionable repeating of negative stereotypes that have been used historically to target Jews, only reinforce our belief that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to American Jews. Rabbi Danya Rutenberg tweeted this out, quote, it's not even coded anti-Semitism. It's not a dog whistle. He's saying this out loud to a room full of Jews. Basically, Donald Trump's bigotry, of course, we know has never been subtle. Progressive Jewish advocacy group J Street also tweeted that Trump is, quote, incapable of addressing Jewish audiences without dipping into the deep well of anti-Semitic tropes that shape his worldview. Rabbi Alyssa Wise of the Jewish Voice for Peace also called it reprehensible that President Trump can't manage to address a Jewish audience without immediately peddling in anti-Semitic tropes. I mean, that's exactly who he is. He's not smart enough to see past the stereotypes. For example, look, stereotypes really kind of inform his entire worldview. For example, he thinks Mexicans are lazy, black people are criminals. People from Norway are excellent people, by the way, wonderful people, and they should come over and immigrate to the United States. Why would they when they have universal health care and high wages and a great standard of living? But whatever. Norway. And of course, another one of his stereotypes is that Jewish people are just, well, they're naturally gifted when it comes to money. And if you expand on that stereotype, of course, would be why that they allegedly run the world. You can see how some of these stereotypes can lead people down a dangerous path. And that's generally what seems to happen. Again, they did the same thing when it came to Germany in the 1930s. And so this is why President Trump and his rhetoric, again, throughout all this racism and stereotyping, you always end up opening that box of anti-Semitism because it's always there beneath everything else. And again, that's why it's so, so dangerous. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.